Joining us now is retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow and military expert at Defense Priorities, a Washington-based think tank. Thank you so much for your time today. Let's get right to the big development. The U.S. and Germany sending tanks to Ukraine. Just how big of a deal is this?
You know, it could be quite effective, because there is no question that the M1 Abrams and the German Leopard and also the British Challenger that's also been given, alongside the U.S. Bradley fighting vehicles and the Stryker vehicles that have been given in the last week or so, together provides a capability that's significantly advanced beyond anything that Ukraine has in their inventory at the moment. But what I really emphasize to people is that these platforms by themselves don't equate NATO capability. NATO tanks and NATO capability are two separate things, and the Ukraine side will have to be significantly trained up on how to operate these things. And I don't just mean how to pull the trigger and drive the vehicles. That part's easy. But as someone who's done it, and fought tank battles and trained others to do so, I can tell you it's a lot more difficult to get effective combat power built out of these things than just putting the tanks on the battlefield. And that's going to be the big difficulty for the Ukraine side.
Yeah, and these tanks aren't going to show up in Ukraine overnight. They're going to take a while to get there. So why does it actually take so long to get the tanks to Ukraine? Are there logistical challenges?
Oh, there's huge challenges, and especially for the U.S. Abrams side. I mean, there are literally hundreds of Abrams in Europe, and many of them in Poland, actually. And if they wanted to, we could put them in there in a handful of days, a matter. But we're very careful on which versions we're giving. And according to the Pentagon, they have to basically build them or at least modify some of those that we have in storage. And they said it could take up to a year to actually get those across there. Now, the Leopards, on the other hand, also have to be brought up to standard because most of them are not in an operational capacity, I mean, like combat ready in the countries where they're at. But there are about 2,000 of those in Europe. And so those can come earlier, and probably by the end of March, maybe the early of April, before they can start showing up in meaningful numbers. But, you know, that again, that just gets them on the ground. Now then you have to actually train units how to fight them and how to put them into effect. So you're probably talking May or June before you can really expect to see some quality ground forces in Ukraine.
Why send these tanks now? Why not at the beginning of the war? We're nearing the one-year marker of this thing.
Well, you know, I mean, that's been kind of the challenge from day one, is the concern that, you know, would this capability be crossing a red line? Would Russia then expand the war beyond the borders of the Ukraine, possibly even into NATO countries, by drawing us in? That's a valid concern, and one I've shared from the beginning and still have right now. But every time we've, you know, put one little increment in there, and Russia was upset, but nothing happened, then they would try another one. You know, then it was the HIMARS, and then it was the 155mm howitzers that U.S. gave. You know, and now then we've expanded into Abrams, into Martyrs, into the Challengers and the Leopards, etc. So really, the only thing left right now are long-range missiles and aircraft, and they're talking about both of those right now too. But the challenge that we have to have is that at some point Russia may feel so threatened that they start attacking ammunitions and weapons depots in NATO countries that are coming in, which they've actually threatened they may do in the last few days. And that's something that the president has to be very, very cognizant of, because it's great to help Ukraine, and, you know, certainly we're all for that. But we can't go so far as that we actually inadvertently get drawn in, and then our own interests become at much greater risk.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you for your time and your insight, sir.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.